Have you ever had a big dream, but the path to get there looked nothing like what you expected? That's the story of Joseph found in Genesis 37 through 50. His life shows us that God's path to our dreams may have many detours, but his path, his way, and his timing is always best. Joseph was the great grandson of Abraham, the grandson of Isaac, and the son of Jacob. This was the family line through which God promised to bless the world. Out of all his children, Jacob loved Joseph the most. He even gave him a special colorful coat. But this made Joseph's brothers jealous and bitter. One night when Joseph was 17 years old, he had some dreams. But these weren't ordinary dreams. God had given Joseph visions of the future, his future. In one, his brothers' bundles of wheat bowed down to his. In another, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. These dreams were glimpses of what God planned for Joseph's life. But when Joseph shared them with his brothers only became more jealous of him and angry. Because of their jealousy and anger, Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery for silver, so for money. Joseph was taken to Egypt and sold to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials. Even as a slave, Joseph worked faithfully, and Potiphar saw that God was with him. He put Joseph in charge of his entire household. Later on, as Joseph carried on as a slave, Joseph was falsely accused of doing something bad and thrown into prison. Things looked hopeless, but God was still with him, giving Joseph favor even in jail. The prison keeper trusted Joseph so much that he put him in charge of the other prisoners. It seems like Joseph can't catch a break. One night, the Pharaoh of Egypt had some strange dreams. 7 fat cows were eaten by 7 skinny cows, and 7 full heads of grain were swallowed up by 7 thin ones. No one could explain to Pharaoh what the dreams meant, but Pharaoh's cupbearer, who had been in prison with Joseph, remembered that Joseph could interpret dreams. Joseph was brought before Pharaoh, and with God's help, he was able to explain the dreams. The dreams meant that Egypt would have 7 years of abundance, then 7 years of famine. A famine means that there isn't enough food in the land for all of the people to survive. Pharaoh was amazed by Joseph. He said, "Can we find anyone like this man, in whom is the Spirit of God lives inside?" And just like that, Joseph went from being a prisoner to the second in command of all Egypt. Joseph was put in charge of managing the grain to get ready for the famine, where there wouldn't be enough food in the land. When famine struck, people from all over came to Egypt for food. Joseph's brothers arrived to buy grain and eventually discover Joseph is alive. Instead of revenge, Joseph forgives them and provides food, saving his family and ensuring the survival of God's chosen people, Israel. Later, Joseph told his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." The detours, betrayal, slavery, prison were all part of God's plan to use Joseph to save many lives, including his chosen people, Israel. But wait, let's rewind back to when Joseph first had those dreams. What if Joseph had tried to force his brothers to bow down? What if he had tried to make the dream happen his own way? His story could have ended before it began. Instead, God took Joseph down a very specific path to shape his character and put him in the exact position to save his family and an entire nation.